Okay, so imagine this for a second. Your name is Marcus Walker. You are, by pretty much every metric, a successful guy. You're a commodities trader in Chicago, real master of the universe type.
The kind of guy who screams into a phone all day.
Exactly. Screaming about chocolate futures, orange juice margins, and you feel pretty good about your spot on the food chain. You're the alpha. And just to prove it, maybe to prove you haven't gone soft, you make a bet with your friends.
A pretty classic city guy bet.
A classic. You're going to go camping.
Yeah.
Alone. No tech.
Which, for someone used to five-star hotels, is already a big step.
Oh, yeah. So he heads out to the Sierra Nevada mountains, right near a place called Collie Lake. The whole point is to catch his own fish, sleep on the ground, survive. He's winning the bet. He's feeling primal. And then middle of the night, something just rips his tent open.
And that's it. That's the last normal moment he has.
He wakes up, and here's the weird part. The tent is still there. The trees are still there. His SUV is parked right where he left it. But the mountains are gone.
They're just not there.
In their place is this wall that looks, I don't know, like the skin of a diseased whale. It's gray and pebbled and just gross. He walks to the edge of what he thought was his campsite, and bam. It's an invisible wall.
An electrical barrier.
He's not just lost in the woods anymore. He is, for all he knows, billions of miles from Earth, sitting in a cage that's designed to look like home. He's in a galactic pet store.
And that's such a terrifying juxtaposition. You go from being, like you said, a master of the universe, someone who moves markets with a phone call, to being a specimen, a piece of livestock.
Right.
And I think that's what makes this particular deep dive so compelling. Today we're unpacking the entire story of Marcus Walker, and it just completely upends what you think of when you hear alien abduction.
Yeah, we're not talking about sterile white tables and probes.
Not at all. We are talking about the cold, hard economics of the exotic pet trade, just on an interstellar scale.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're going into the whole story of Marcus and his abduction by these aliens, the Langeji. And the stack of sources we've got to work with today is, it's just wild.
It really is.
We're not just looking at a survival story. We're looking at a really detailed account of psychological resilience. We're going to break down how a human, a talking dog, a deeply depressed poet monster, and a drug-addicted squid genius.
You can't make this stuff up.
How they form maybe the weirdest alliance in the history of fiction.
And our mission here really is to get at the nature of intelligence, of adaptability, because when you strip away everything Marcus knows, the trading floor, his status, his technology, what's actually left of him.
And more importantly, when you're thrown into a pit with things that look like your worst nightmares, how do you find that common ground you need to survive? How do you organize?
How do you build a team out of that?
So let's really set the scene, because the visual is just bonkers. Marcus is at Collie Lake. These massive purple aliens with, what are they, sucker flaps for limbs?
Yeah, sucker flaps. Not really arms or legs.
They grab him, drag him onto their ship. But here's the twist that really got me. They don't just toss him in a cell.
No. That would be too simple.
They scoop up his entire campsite. His SUV is there. The dirt is there. There's even a chunk of the lake just sitting there. It's a terrarium.
And that's what the sources call the enclosure concept. And it's so critical to understanding the Valengi, his captors. They transplant the immediate environment of whatever they capture.
So Marcus is trapped in this hologram-enhanced replica of the Sierras. He can see the mountains in the distance.
But it's a projection. It's wallpaper.
If he walks too far, he hits that invisible electric barrier and it just drops him. It's a fake reality.
It reminds me of those, those really high-end modern zoos where they paint a jungle scene on the back wall of the tiger enclosure?
Yes.
Yeah.
It gives the illusion of freedom, but it's just a painting.
Precisely. And that one detail tells you everything you need to know about the Valengi's motivation. They are not researchers. They're not trying to learn about humanity.
They're traders.
They're merchants. Marcus is merchandise. And to keep your merchandise fresh, to keep its value high, you have to minimize stress. So you simulate its natural habitat. It is a gilded cage designed from the ground up to keep the specimen alive for resale.
The psychological impact of that must be just devastating.
It's a constant reminder that you are not a person to them. You are inventory. You're a product on a shelf.
And it just strips his agency away immediately. He tries to test the boundaries, right? He walks into the bit of lake they took thinking maybe the barrier doesn't work underwater.
Nope, he gets shocked.
He tries to hike up what looks like a trail.
Shocked again.
He's completely contained in this slice of earth.
Yeah.
It would be maddening. You can see your car, you can get in your car, but you can't drive it anywhere.
And just think about the isolation. This is a guy who's used to the noise, the chaos of a trading floor. For weeks, the only beings he sees are the Valengi, and they just stare at him from this corridor outside his enclosure.
They don't talk to him.
They just watch. It's the ultimate objectification. He can yell, he can scream, demand answers, and they just look at him with these flat, horizontal eyes and then walk away.
It forces him into this state of total dependency. He just has to wait for this circle of ground to drop down and then come back up with his food bricks.
The food bricks, I love that detail.
It's so degrading.
It's kibble. They're color-coded blocks. One might taste like, congealed beef broth, another like boiled Brussels sprouts. It's just sustenance.
But then, after weeks of this, the isolation finally breaks. The barrier on one side of his enclosure just dissolves. He walks through into an alleyway.
A Chicago alleyway.
Right.
Yeah. That's the surreal nature of the ship. One minute you're in the Sierra Nevada mountains, you cross an invisible line, and suddenly you're in a grimy urban alley. There's a rusted-out Cadillac, overflowing garbage cans, the whole deal.
And sitting there, in the middle of all this, is a dog.
Just a scruffy stray mutt.
The kind you see everywhere. A mix of everything. Probably some terrier, some shepherd. Just a little brown, scruffy dog. And Marcus, he's so desperate for any kind of company, he's just overjoyed.
Of course. Anything but the aliens.
So he starts doing the whole here boy, good boy routine. Yeah, trying to coax him over. And the dog just looks at him, and then it speaks.
Don't mix metaphors with me, but that's the first thing he says to him.
Can you even imagine? You've been abducted, you're pretty sure you're losing your mind, and then a stray dog gives you attitude with a very distinct Chicago accent.
Welcome to your new reality.
This is George, formerly known on the streets as a shithead or dumb mutt or just get out of here. Now he is George.
And the explanation for why he can talk is this fascinating piece of sci-fi biology.
Yeah.
The Valengi, they use these universal translator implants for all their captives. It makes giving orders easier.
Right, for obedience.
But for a dog whose brain isn't naturally wired for complex syntax or, abstract thought, they had to do something more. They performed what they called a brain boost.
They uplifted him.
Essentially, yeah. They physically stimulated and deepened his cerebral folds to create the capacity for language.
But why? Why would they go to all that trouble? It wasn't to be nice.
No, not at all. They weren't trying to give George a better life. They were, according to the source material, completely perplexed by the human-dog relationship on Earth.
They didn't get it.
They looked down and saw two species. One is clearly dominant, the human. The other, to them, is subsentient, the dog. But they see the dog living in the human's house, eating the human's food, being treated like royalty.
And to a hyper-capitalist, transactional species like the Valengi, that just doesn't compute.
It makes no sense. Why isn't the dog rebelling? Why is it happy in this state of subservience? So they boosted George's IQ specifically to interview him. They asked him, why do you serve them?
And George's answer is just... It's perfect. It's probably the best explanation of the dog-human contract I have ever heard.
It's brilliant.
He basically tells them, look, I get free food, I get a warm place to sleep, I get health care, I don't have to hunt, I don't have to fight for scraps. All I have to do is wag my tail and lick a face once in a while.
And then he delivers the punchline.
So who's really the slave here? The human who has to work a 9-to-5 job to pay the mortgage and buy the kibble, or the dog who gets to sleep on the rug all day?
It's just such a brilliant reframing of that whole social contract. It shows you George's intelligence isn't academic, it's pragmatic. He's a survivor.
He isn't burdened by ego either, not like Marcus. Marcus is humiliated by being in a cage because he feels like he's fallen from this high status.
And George.
George was eating out of trash cans a few months ago. Now he gets regular food bricks and he can do algebra. For him, it's arguably an upgrade. He's annoyed he can't chase cats, but otherwise, he's adapting. He's figuring out the rules of this place.
And he becomes the guide, the
Yeah.
mentor figure, which is so ironic.
The street dog has to teach the MBA how to survive in a zoo.
Yeah.
He's like, don't throw rocks at the barrier, it hurts. Don't annoy the guards, they'll withhold food. Eat the green brick, but definitely avoid the red one.
That role reversal is just so key to their dynamic. George is cynical, he's sarcastic, but he's grounded. Marcus is completely high-strung and panicked. George is the one who helps him navigate the next phase of all this, which is the grand enclosure.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
The common area. So periodically, the barriers between all these different habitats drop, and all the captives can mingle in this big central hub. It's like the exercise yard in a high-security prison.
Or the prison cafeteria,
Yeah.
yeah. And what a mix of inmates you have there. The source material describes this incredible menagerie of galactic biology.
You have the Zerak.
These huge elephant-like creatures, very imposing.
Then there are the Alanites, Pin and Pryor. They're described as graceful and gelatinous, like land jellyfish that sing when they talk.
And don't forget the Eremo, which apparently look like giant, intelligent turkeys. It's a real melting pot.
But it is not a happy melting pot. This is not Star Trek where everyone's trying to form a federation.
Right.
It is deeply paranoid.
That is the atmosphere. Paranoia. Everyone is afraid, and the Valengi actively encourage a snitch culture.
A classic control tactic.
Absolutely. You use it in prisons and authoritarian regimes. If you report someone for breaking a rule, maybe you get a better food brick. Maybe the guards leave you alone for a week. So even though they are all victims together, there's no automatic solidarity. Everyone is looking over their shoulder.
Which brings us to the Guaba incident.
Hmm.
This is what really illustrates how dangerous the other prisoners can be.
Right.
So Marcus is down by a little stream in the grand enclosure because this place is a patchwork of different habitats, remember? And he finds a sharp piece of ceramic, a shard.
To a prisoner, that's a tool. It's a weapon, a shiv.
It's something. He pockets it, thinking, okay, I can use this to cut things, maybe defend myself.
Yeah.
But he's being watched. A Guaba, which is this small, apparently malicious little alien from a planet called Isles 6, sees him pick it up.
And the Guaba doesn't warn him. It doesn't say, hey man, drop that, the guards are watching.
Oh, no. It runs straight to the Valengi. It snitches.
For what? For a better meal. It's just pure malicious self-interest.
And the Valengi response is immediate. They storm Marcus's tent, back in his little Sierra habitat, drag him out, subdue him, and take the shard. And the whole time, the Guaba's just standing there, grinning its alien grin. It's infuriating.
But it serves the Valengi's purpose. It reinforces the total powerlessness of the captives. It sends a message to Marcus. You have no secrets. You have no allies. We see everything.
And just to really drive that point home,
Yeah.
George tells him the story of the Tripidan.
Ah, the legend of the yard.
The boogeyman story.
Yes, the horror story George tells to keep Marcus in line.
So there was this Tripidan alien big, strong creature who got into a fight with another species, a Sisu. The Tripidan won, and not just won, it dismembered the Sisu. A really brutal display of dominance.
But the Valengi didn't put it in solitary. They didn't put it on trial. No. They came in with what George calls glue guns, weapons that shoot some kind of hardening adhesive. They immobilized the Tripidan, and they just took him away.
And he's never seen again.
Ever. The implication is crystal clear. He was terminated, maybe recycled into food bricks, maybe just ejected into space.
Because the Valengi are traitors.
Exactly. If the merchandise is defective or dangerous, you write it off as a loss. You don't try to rehabilitate it. And that terrifies Marcus because he finally truly understands that his life has no intrinsic value to them. He's only worth what someone will pay.
So he's just seething. He's helpless. He's watching his life waste away in this fake campsite. And eventually, the pressure cooker just blows. He cracks.
It's not a calculated rebellion, it's a tantrum.
A complete tantrum. He's getting his food bricks one morning, and he just loses it. He starts scooping up handfuls of dirt and rocks and just chucking them at a Valengi guard.
He's screaming things, right? Like, take me for a walk, just mocking them. He's desperate for any kind of reaction other than that cold indifference.
And he actually gets a lucky shot. He hits a Valengi right in the eye, or whatever sensory organ it has that functions as an eye.
He hurts one, which must have been satisfying for, what, a split second?
And then the consequences hit.
Hard.
They zap him, paralyze him with some kind of neural weapon. But they don't kill him because, again, he's merchandise.
Yeah.
You don't destroy valuable goods. You punish.
They decide to move him. They take him out of his relatively safe Sierra Nevada habitat and they throw him into a different enclosure.
And this is where the movie genre suddenly shifts. We go from, like, The Shawshank Redemption to a full-on monster movie.
He gets thrown into the cage of a creature named Brock. And I have to say, if I were Marcus in that moment, I think my heart would have just stopped.
It's an absolutely terrifying reveal. Brock is a Tuqualian. And to visualize this, you have to imagine a creature that's basically a 2,000-pound mountain of yellow-green muscle and fur.
No real head, just a torso.
Right. And tentacles coming out of its sides, eye stalks waving around on top. And the worst part, a mouth that runs vertically down the center of its body, lined with teeth the size of playing cards.
This thing is built for violence.
And it's hungry. Marcus watches this thing, just slice through those food bricks like they're butter. And Marcus is starving. He's stuck in the corner, too afraid to even move. Eventually, desperation wins. He tries to steal a food brick,
He even tries to fight. He picks up a stick to use as a club.
which is just,
Yeah.
it's laughable. It's
Yeah.
pathetic. Brock snaps the stick without even looking at him. It's like a human swatting a fly.
And Marcus has this moment of revelation. His physical strength, his aggression, his alpha male traitor persona, it is all utterly meaningless against a Teuton alien. He cannot win a physical fight.
So he remembers George. He remembers the dog strategy.
She submits.
Totally. He gets down on his belly, he grovels, he holds his hands up and whimpers, he makes himself as small and non-threatening as possible.
For a proud man like Marcus, that has to be a moment of absolute soul-crushing humiliation. He's acting like a beaten dog.
But it works. Because Brauk isn't a mindless monster. When Marcus starts begging, Brauk actually stops eating. He looks down at Marcus with those eye stalks, and then he speaks.
And this might be my favorite part of the entire story. The monster doesn't roar, it recites poetry.
His voice is this deep rumbling thing, like tectonic plates shifting, but his words are lyrical. He says something like, "Stop that. Groveling. It is embarrassing."
And then, brothers in singing, forced into small plays.
This is what the monster's a poet. He's a gentle giant.
He is. And he explains his backstory. The Valengi labeled him as dangerous and put him in total isolation because when he was first captured, he went berserk. He tore apart the holding bay.
Not because he's a killer.
No, he did it because he was grieving. He was taken from his home, from what he calls the deep skies of Tucalia. He wasn't enraged. He was heartbroken. The Valengi saw a monster, but the reality is this deeply sensitive, depressed soul who just misses the sky.
That's incredibly tragic. And they bond over this instantly. Brauk is lonely. Marcus is lonely. Brauk even shares his food with him. He breaks off a piece of a food brick and just gives it to Marcus.
And the Valengi, who were watching this whole time, probably expecting a death match.
They set up a cage fight and got a poetry slam instead.
Exactly. So they see these two aren't going to kill each other, and they eventually drop the barrier and let George back in to join them.
And we get this incredible, hilarious scene of the duet. You have Brauk, this mountain of fur, reciting this epic, thunderous saga about his people poetry, about stars and loss and wind.
And right next to him, you have George, the Chicago street dog, just throwing his head back and howling along at the top of his lungs. It's a total cacophony. It's loud. It's chaotic.
But for them, it's connection. It's the lost and found theme in a nutshell. They're finding a common language, even if it's just noise.
So the team is starting to form. You've got the pragmatist, the human, Marcus. You have the street-smart scout, George. You have the muscle, who also turns out to be the heart, Brauk.
But Marcus, who's always the traitor, he looks at his portfolio of assets and he realizes something is missing. They have strength, they have grit, but they don't have the brains to actually beat the system.
Right. I mean, they're stuck on a spaceship that has incredibly advanced technology. You can't punch your way out of that. You can't dig a tunnel. You need someone who understands systems. You need a hacker.
So Marcus identifies a potential recruit. There's this one enclosure that's always shrouded in mist and kept cold. It's mysterious. No one ever goes near it. It's the spooky house on the block.
And Marcus decides to investigate.
And inside, he finds Squee.
Squee is a caramu, and physically, she looks kind of like a maroon octopus or squid, but really ornate. She decorates her tentacles with jewelry and gems.
She's living in a hollowed-out boulder reading a book. Or, the alien equivalent of an iPad.
And let's be clear, she is not happy to see him.
No, she is the very definition of a snob.
Oh, completely. Squee is the embodiment of intellectual arrogance. She looks at Marcus, and all she sees is a biped. 2 legs, 2 arms, a flat face. To her, that's a primitive, inefficient design.
She calls him a flat-faced primitive. She asks if he's barely cognizant.
She has this whole theory that intelligence is directly proportional to the number of limbs you have. So with only 4, Marcus is basically a moron in her eyes. She's the genius in the room who absolutely hates having to explain things to the idiots.
And she also has a vice, which I did not see coming.
She does. She is addicted to these herbal stimulants, substances called Sidana and Jokil. The Valengi actually supply her with them. It keeps her docile and happy in her little cold, misty room.
So she's a high-functioning addict, genius.
Right.
Brilliant, but sedated.
And Marcus has to recruit her. He can't overpower her. She's got all those tentacles. And he certainly can't outsmart her in a math competition, so he has to manipulate her.
He plays to her vanity. This is where you see Marcus, the traitor, come back. He knows how to close a deal.
He frames it perfectly. He basically says, look, you sit here and say you're so much smarter than the Valengi. You call them simple traders, but you're in a cage and they have the keys. So if you're so smart, prove it.
He negs her. He challenges her ego.
Prove you are the superior intellect by helping us escape. And she bites. She just cannot resist the challenge. She agrees to join them, not because she likes Marcus. She still thinks he's a primitive idiot, but because she is bored out of her mind and she wants to demonstrate her superiority.
She wants to show the Valengi that she can outwit them.
And so, just like that, they have their full board of directors. Marcus is the leader, the negotiator. George is the scout, the cynical voice of reason. Brauk is the muscle and the primary distraction. And Squay is the tech expert, the brains. It's a perfect heist crew.
But they get a harsh reality check almost immediately. Squay points out the fatal flaw in any escape plan.
She says, let's say we do get out of the cells. We are in deep space. Where do we go? We can't fly this ship. The moment we step outside, we either freeze or boil.
And this is where the philosophy of this whole deep dive really hits home for me. Because Marcus, he acknowledges that.
Yeah.
He knows it's impossible. He doesn't have a map back to Earth. But he says, I'd rather have an impossible goal than nothing at all.
It's about agency.
It's about agency. Sitting in a cage and waiting to be sold is a kind of death. It's a spiritual death. Trying to escape, even if it's completely doomed from the start, is living.
That's a profound psychological shift. It's the moment they transform from being victims into being active participants in their own fate.
So they hatch a plan. And it's a plan that's tailored perfectly to their specific, weird talents. They can't overpower the ship's crew. The Valengi are too numerous, they have better weapons, so they need a diversion.
A massive diversion. They need chaos. The idea is, if they can get all the other prisoners to ride at the same time, the Zarak elephants, the singing jelly blobs, the turkey things, the Valengi guards will be completely overwhelmed.
But how do you coordinate a mass riot when the entire place is bugged? The guards are always listening.
They use what the source calls the noise cover. This is where Brock's poetry becomes a weapon.
I love that.
Brack stands in the middle of the grand enclosure and just starts reciting his loudest, most booming poetry. George stands next to him and howls at the top of his lungs. They create this incredible wall of sound.
And the Valengi guards, they just think the big furry beast is being noisy again.
Exactly. But under that cover of poetic noise, Marcus is whispering the plan to Squy and George. It's low-tech steganography, hiding the signal in the noise.
And the plan itself, it relies on a rumor. Marcus understands markets. He knows how information and misinformation spreads. He doesn't go around to the other prisoners and say, hey, we're escaping on Tuesday at 9 a.m.
That would be way too dangerous. Someone would definitely snitch for an extra food brick.
For sure. Instead, he just plants a seed. He goes to a few key individuals and says, hey, I heard a rumor that the power barriers are going to fail tomorrow morning during the feeding. He frames it as a system malfunction.
That is so smart, because it creates anticipation without creating a conspiracy. If the power flickers, now everyone is ready to run, but no one technically planned anything.
Right. If the Valengi interrogates them later, they can all just say, I just heard a rumor. It gives them plausible deniability.
It allows the other prisoners to make their own choice in the moment. When it happens, it creates a viral effect. The rumor just spreads through the grand enclosure like wildfire. Everyone is whispering about the power failure. The tension is building.
And Squee's job is to make that rumor come true. She claims she can hack the barrier system, but she needs to get physical access to a terminal during the confusion of the feeding.
So the stage is set, the rumor is planted, the team is assembled. They're just waiting for that morning feeding, which is the moment the barriers drop to let the food carts in. It's the moment the Valengi are most distracted and all the prisoners are awake and gathered.
And that's where the source material leaves us. Right on the edge. We're standing on the precipice of this breakout, and we don't know the outcome yet. We have no idea if they get off the ship, let alone make it back to Earth.
But when you look at that team, a human trader, a talking dog, a giant monster poet, and an arrogant squid, you just have to root for them.
You really do. And if we, connect this back to the bigger picture, it really becomes a story about what defines sentience or even civilization.
That's a really interesting angle. What do you mean?
Well, look at the Valengi. They have interstellar travel, gravity control, universal translators.
Yeah.
Technologically, they are practically gods compared to us.
Light years ahead.
But culturally, they seem totally stagnant. They're incurious. They don't seem to create art. They just trade goods. They don't empathize. They just calculate profit assumptions. They look at a poet like Broke, and all they see is a dangerous beast. They look at a philosopher like George, and all they see is a pet.
Whereas the primitives down in the cages,
They're creating poetry. They're forming these complex cross-species alliances. They're showing loyalty and even talking about self-sacrifice for the group.
that's a great point. Marcus, George, Broke, and Squay represent the diversity of life, that spark of spirit. They're overcoming biological barriers, language barriers, deep-seated fear, all to work together. They're demonstrating a kind of spiritual advancement that the Valengi completely lack.
The Valengi see them as animals,
Yeah.
but by any meaningful definition of the word, the captives are the ones acting with humanity, even the non-humans.
It's the irony of that theme you mentioned, lost and found. Marcus is lost in the most literal sense possible. He is off the map, he is gone. But he found something out there he probably never would have found back in Chicago.
He found a pack. He found a purpose. In Chicago, he was trading futures, these abstract numbers on a screen, chocolate futures, orange juice futures.
It's not real.
Out there, he's dealing in actual futures. His life, George's life, Broke's life, it's raw and it's real. He found a connection that completely transcends species.
It really makes you question who the savage is in this story. The Valengi think they're the civilized ones because they hold the keys and have the advanced weapons.
Right. But Brock, the terrifying monster with the vertical mouth, is the one reciting poetry about empathy and shared sorrow.
What was that line Broke used? Sorrow is sharing, the abducted are together, many one.
Yeah. It's such a profound statement of solidarity. The Valenci couldn't write that. They wouldn't even understand it. They just wonder how much they could sell the poem for.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, what's the big takeaway for you when you look back at this absolutely wild story? What's the thing that sticks?
For me, it's about the George factor. It's about underestimating the unassuming asset. Marcus ignored the guava, that little alien who betrayed him, because he didn't think it mattered, and he got burned. But he embraced the dog, the creature that society told him was beneath him, and he found his single greatest ally. In any situation, whether it's a corporate boardroom or an alien spaceship, you just never know who's going to hold the key to your survival. Don't underestimate the quiet ones or the ones who seem subsentient. Intelligence comes in a lot of different packages.
I love that. For me, it's that line from Marcus, I'd rather have an impossible goal than nothing at all.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's about hope. Even when you're in a cage, billions of miles from home, facing completely impossible odds, you have to have a plan. You have to have a tomorrow you're fighting for. You have to believe you can change your situation, even when all the math says you can't.
And practically speaking, you have to have a friend to howl with. You can't do it alone.
Amen to that. This has been a wild ride through the story of Marcus Walker. Thanks for unpacking it with me. It has definitely made me look at the night sky and my neighbor's dog a little differently.
Always a pleasure. It's just a reminder that the universe is a big, strange place, and we're all just trying to figure it out.
And to you listening, keep your eyes on the stars, but maybe keep a closer eye on your dog. He might know more than he's letting on. Until next time,